Rocky's story is pretty much done. His ring story and his journey with Adrian. And now it's about a new generation, and the character of Adonis Creed comes into the picture.
Sylvester is very proud of Rocky. I mean, he created something that has resonated with people literally all around the world.
The story is very classic. The character is very human and very relatable. It's a familiarity to him that I think translates through cultures and through socioeconomic backgrounds. You know, everybody knows somebody like Rocky. And if you don't know him, you want to know him.
Everybody loves the underdog story. You know, you always want to root for the guy who's not supposed to be there. And somehow he reaches deep, deep down inside and pulls out that heart, that passion that seems to turn the odds, and you come out on top.
We spent 18 years between Rocky V and Rocky Balboa, and we all thought it was finished. Little did I know that there was a young man up in Oakland, California that had an idea for a spin-off of Rocky that would create a whole new audience and continue on Rocky, but in a different way.
I heard about a third fight between you and Apollo behind closed doors. Is that true?
How do you know all this?
He's my father.
I was really inspired to write Creed out of my relationship with my father. He and I are real close, and you know, I was an athlete growing up. What he would do is, before I have a big game, he'd make me sit down and watch Rocky II on VHS. Oh, yeah! And that was my introduction to the character and to the story.
Yo, Adrian! Adrian!
Naturally, I liked it because my dad liked it, and I watched all of them and fell in love with it through him.
Since we're pretty much like family, I want you to train me.
Years later, I flew down to LA and met Sly. Kind of pitched him the idea in the room, and I could tell he was kind of looking at me like, man, this kid's crazy, you know what I mean?
I thought it was insane. And then, after a while, I thought, how interesting that someone of this generation would like a story that started 2 generations ago. So then I started to become very intrigued.
There was a film in Sundance called Fruitvale Station, and I said, oh boy, the young director, Ryan Coogler, is really good. So I was very enthusiastic from that time on.
Me and Ryan, we met on Fruitvale Station. It just clicked, fate, or the universe, or whatever you have it, that kind of brought us together. And we kind of started to build this relationship and had this chemistry. He's such a smart guy.
He has an incredible sensitivity. He has a ferocious curiosity about people and a real hunger and thirst to find the truth.
Ryan is a goal-oriented director. I've never seen a more focused individual on one project, ever.
I really started to realize the importance of an actor-director relationship and communication. And once you have it and it's on a high level, I think it just makes the shooting process that much easier.
Mike and I were developing a relationship as we were getting ready to make Fruitvale, and kind of had it in my mind that if we were ever make the film, I would want Mike to play the role.
Well, there's the bell. Comes over to hurry now. Throws a couple of rights and lefts out there.
I was always a fan of the film growing up. You know, always kind of connected with it. I love boxing, love fighting. The story was always really good, and we had the best antagonists in his films. And for Sly to take those characters that he created and trusted in this next generation of filmmakers, pretty breathtaking.
I'm a Philadelphian, and I can remember the buzz of, boy, there's this movie you gotta see. It's all about Philadelphia and this boxer. And like everybody, not just in Philadelphia, but across the country, I fell in love with the movie.
Come on, come on.
I was a little girl when I first watched the Rocky movies, and I guess I always had a love and a passion for competitors. And that movie told such an inspirational story to me about someone who could want something so bad in life, and they're willing to sacrifice it all.
Take it to him.
Boys coming here, this is how they survive. They gotta fight for life. Kill or be killed, people die in there. Your daddy died in the ring. This ain't no joke.
I don't know him. Ain't got nothing to do with me.
I've been a big fan of all the Rocky movies for a long time. I always like watching the underdog win. You want a guy that overcoming struggles, a guy that shows that if you work hard enough at it, you got enough will, you fight hard enough, you can accomplish anything.
Kill it, all right? Here, kill it, all right, little dude? You pick who's next. I'm next.
I get motivated by certain things, and I literally grew up watching the Rocky movies, and I love the fight scenes, but I also love the preparation. The things he went through as a fighter, and I can relate, because this is what I've done for most of my life.
I relate a lot to the movie because I'm a fighter that I come from that background where I had to grind to get to where I'm at. I had to work the graveyard shift, putting water mains underground and trying to pursue my professional career. So when I see the movie, you know, I relate to it.
He trained really hard, he worked out, because to get in that kind of shape is not easy. As a fighter, I did this all my life to try to become like what he was.
Well, what do I gotta chase a chicken for? It's embarrassing, you know? Yeah.
You catch this thing, you can catch grease lightning. Go on and get him! Get him, get him, get him!
If you say a boxing movie, automatically the first word that comes out of anybody's mouth is Rocky, because it captures a lot of what fighters go through. I'd say not just physically, but emotionally as well.
Look, this is what I'm here for, all right? I'll go 24/7 with this shit.
You have to be willing to sacrifice just about everything.
A little harder, a little faster.
In that moment, and when you're in the training camp, there's no room for distractions, there's no room for error, there's no room for not training, so it takes an incredible amount of focus, and I think that he really displayed that well.
I thought he did a great job of showing the different styles of training some people do. And that's still true. John Hackelman, my trainer, always talks about, oh, yeah, let's go back to old school, let's go back to the pit. You know, he would go up there and we're pushing wheelbarrows of weight and doing old school stuff. For me, a lot of it comes down to basics. It's training hard and doing things right.
The bit that people see, the actual fight at the end, that is just 10% of what has gone on.
Obviously, one of the most iconic scenes where he's hitting meat in the freezer. This guy didn't have all the best tools, he didn't have all the best heavy bags, he didn't have all the best trainers, but he had the heart, the willpower, and the determination, and it just was inspirational as a young girl to say, hey, you know, if you really put your mind to it, it doesn't matter what kind of obstacles you have in front of you, you can accomplish it.
You finally get the shot, you take advantage of it, and sometimes you win, sometimes you lose. But the thing is, you never quit.
I think my favorite line is the one from Rocky II.
I saw you beat that man like I never saw no man get beat before.
And he just kept coming. And that's kind of that feeling like that, you know, guy that just won't quit.
This is the land of opportunity, right? So Apollo Creed on January 1st gives a local underdog fighter a shot at the greatest title in the world on this country's biggest birthday. Now that's the way I see it. And that's the way it's gonna be.
Apollo, I like it.
Carl Weathers played Apollo Creed, and he captured the Muhammad Ali persona, especially when he came into the ring. People were like, hey, this is like you're really watching a real fight. You know, it just had that feeling. And he captured that character of someone we really knew.
Carl Weathers did such an incredible job with Apollo Creed, and it's an honor to be a part of the process and part of his legacy.
The Apollo Creed character just had such an intense and strong disposition, and they needed a very strong character like Apollo to be able to pull something like that off.
Going down. Apollo and Rocky were complete polar opposites, and what started out as a publicity stunt really flourished into one of the great relationships.
Now, when we fought, you had that eye of the tiger, man, the edge. And now you gotta get it back.
Apollo was responsible for giving Rocky a second chapter. That's why I like the name Apollo. It's kind of like a gift from the gods. Apollo creates the eye of the tiger. Then in 4, Apollo eventually dies. So we have this very long relationship that ends in kind of this epic tragedy that is going on to now Creed.
Hey. Apollo Creed, that was my favorite character from the franchise. And I really liked how intellectual and how in control of his own destiny that character was shown to be. So I knew it would be interesting to explore what happens to his family when somebody like that dies.
I don't have no father. What did you say? I said I don't have no father.
That's not true. Apollo had a relationship with another woman, but Apollo passed before the young boy was born.
And Adonis growing up, he always struggled with a sense of identity, not knowing his father. He always got into fights at a young age, and that was him kind of lashing out.
At least let me get my shoes.
Adonis always felt like he had something inside of him. You know, he is the son of a world champion, so he goes down to Tijuana and bar fights.
He's a Creed. He's a boxer at heart. He's got a box.
You know how many times I had to carry your father up these stairs because he couldn't walk? Is that what you want?
He has the burden of being the son of somebody who was perhaps the greatest of all time.
You know I ain't training. Ain't nobody training you. I'm gonna make sure about that.
The only other person that would understand what he was going through, and the only person that really knew his father, was Rocky Balboa.
How good was he?
Apollo, yeah, he was great. He's a perfect fighter. Ain't nobody ever better.
So how'd you beat him?
Time beat him. Time takes everybody out. It's undefeated.
When we first meet him, Rocky is sort of resigned to be lonely. He's lost Adrian. He's lost Paulie. You soon realize that he is, for the first time, alone.
Why would you want to pick a fighter's life when you don't have to? If Apollo was around, he would tell you that too.
Well, he ain't around.
He feels he's responsible for his father's demise. And I don't think Rocky ever really come to terms with that. Your father was special. To tell you the truth, I don't know if it's special. Only you're gonna know that when the time is right.
But Adonis is very persistent, and eventually Rocky kind of turns around.
He knows when he looks into his eyes, if he doesn't do it, someone else is going to do it. At least he's gonna give him the best he can to keep him safe. Every time you get into the ring, that's who you're going against. I believe that in boxing, and I do believe that in life.
Heard you down here working. Figure you want to take a break?
Where are you from, Donnie?
From LA.
Okay, so is this how you all ask females out in LA? Much like Rocky's relationship with Adrian, the course of true love never did run smooth.
We're gonna have a good time.
And I think that that's something that you get to see in Adonis and Bianca. You get to see two young people who really like each other, but they're trying to figure it out.
Why you giving me that look?
Well, when were you gonna tell me that your uncle's Rocky Balboa?
I'm gonna call you.
All right, I'm not gonna hold my breath.
Tessa is a wonderful actress. She takes her work very seriously, and she makes you feel something, which is very important.
We needed somebody who could hold their own against Sly and Mike at the same time, who was of that caliber, and she really brought it.
You got something you want to tell me?
She definitely gives Adonis a run for his money and makes him work. And she challenges him on some of the things that he believes in, and it really pushes him to kind of grow up.
Well, what are you afraid of?
I'm afraid of taking on the name and losing. Call me a fraud.
You are Apollo Creed's son, so use the name. It's yours.
At the core of these movies, it's really relationship dramas with an action sequence at the end.
I think in the end, Ryan's idea was so solid that everyone acknowledged that this was the way to further the franchise and present it to a new generation.
Ryan was able to honor that tradition, but also tell a new story from his point of view.
What's wrong with you? I don't know. Hey, somebody help!
Rocky's sick.
If I break, I ain't gonna fix it.
It's an incredible story of finding family in unexpected places.
Adonis, he needs a father figure. He needs somebody to show him how to be a man.
They're an unlikely father and son, but they both give each other a certain strength that they need at a specific time.
They both push one another to fight with that never give up, never quit attitude. Just like any other fight. So if I fight, you fight.
At the heart of it, I'm making it for my dad, but I'm excited to share this movie with all generations. And the thing that makes me really excited is for those people who've never seen a Rocky film before, who will go to this, and if they fall in love with Rocky, can go and see his story and all of the other movies. What a cinematic experience to give somebody.
It's amazing that it's transcended a couple generations. These movies have been huge worldwide. And I can't put my finger on it other than they're compelling. They're fun to watch, and that's what a movie should be.
To be a part of the series, it's just big. And the cool part is it's a lot of real fighters, like multiple real fighters that are a part of this. So I think that also brings a lot of authenticity.
Those movies, they changed boxing. I mean, it really did. And they bring fans, and everyone wants to talk about a Rocky story once in a while, so it's a lot of fun.
It's been surreal, honestly, just like even, when we're doing scenes out in the street and all the people that just, Rocky, hey, Rocky, just like all the shout outs and the love and the fans.
When I come back to Philadelphia and I realize that this city actually embraces this character in a way that I could have never imagined.
Philadelphia salutes its favorite son, Rocky Balboa.
I mean, he has a statue, a fictional character that's sitting out there in front of the museum that people from all over the world travel to take pictures by and, stand in his footsteps. It just goes to show the quality, of work Sly did 40 years ago. It's still relevant today, and it will be in another 40 years.
They don't know what you've been through, and they sure don't know what we've been through.
What really counts is love. That's what really gets us through the darkness.